Hello there, Tom Holyby with Ashigaru Defense. I'm here to talk about magazine lugs, and specifically those for AKs. You'll notice that this one is a little deformed on the back end here. Now, this is what I call a staple-lugged magazine. This is a US Palm. This is also a staple-lugged magazine. And these are moderately better than polymer-lugged magazines. A test I've done plenty of, and I likely will continue to do, is I take magazines that I'm unsure of, and I'll lock them into this rifle. I take it out, and I'll just drop it. And I'll drop it in such a way that the weight of the rifle falls onto the back end of this magazine. And that's what nets you this damage. Now, you may be asking, why? Well, this is a simulation, and actually I would argue a lighter simulation to a patrol class, and you going for a walk, or just any sort of environment where you might be walking with this in your hands, and you trip and fall, and your arms do this sympathetic number. Oh no, I'm falling. Likely, whatever touches the ground first is where all the force of the rifle and you are going to land, and wouldn't you know it, that's probably going to be that magazine. And so, because of the curvature and the way physics works, all of the force goes that way and pushes really hard on the lug. With a polymer lug magazine, that shears straight off. And I've seen those shear off in a number of other ways, but in this case, it didn't shear off, probably because of the aluminum. And it locks in and does everything else. Now all I have left to do is load it up and see if it's changed its seating position to cause malfunctions. Because it may well have done that as well. Something I have seen quite a bit in classes involving AKs with polymer lug magazines is when people come up to do their reloads, and they'll bring this up and they go, "Hiya!" And I'll see a little tiny piece of black fly away from their rifle, and I'm always like, "What's that?" "Oh, it's a polymer lug magazine." And then when the student goes to pick up the old magazine, they'll do this little number. I know this is a steel magazine that just doesn't fit in this rifle, but that's what it looks like. Is they'll come up and they'll go, "Okay, I'm gonna put in my new magazine," and what the hell? And now we found out that they stripped the rear lug off their magazine, and that's what it looks like when they try to put it in. Now, I know that the polymer lug magazines are cheap as shit, and I'm not telling you don't buy them. If you have no magazines, polymer lug magazines are better than no magazines. But typically, if there's a polymer lug magazine available, there's also a staple lugged magazine available for about the same price. So there's not really a good use to buying polymer lug magazines, unless you want to have trainer magazines. Now, I don't have any empty 7.62 magazines, so you'll have to use this empty 5.45 magazine. But these are, if you have old busted magazines, you can still use the housing so that you can do all the manipulations without sending cartridges out of the rifle. And fear not, if you're one who does not possess AK, or you can still do it with your old busted AR magazines. This is an MN2. The plastic base plate jettisoned itself into some unbegotten galaxy and left me with this housing and a mess of cartridges. I kept the housing because it allows me to stick that in there, and I can run the charging handle without it seizing up on me. Same deal with this Magpul Glock magazine. The spring broke. Don't know why the spring broke, but it did. And so I just glued the base plate back onto it. And now, the gift I've given myself is when I do my dry fire practice with this, and I do the slide, it gives me the stimulus I'm looking for. When I tap and rack, it actually you know, racks instead of what happens with an empty magazine where it does that little number and now I gotta go, oh yeah, well I wanted it like that so I could get to that trigger press and I can do all the things. Now I just have that and now I have the perfect trainer. This is going to get marked. It's going to get painted, probably OSHA blue, so that I do not mistake this for a fighting magazine. And whatever magazines it is you get, this Men 2 is also up for painting. You paint them. You make it so that it's like, oh, that's not a weapon magazine. That's a trainer. Oh, that's a real magazine. So that's just a little bit on magazines. So this one's broken, and as you can see, it's empty. So I guess I lied. I do have an empty 7.62 magazine. That's okay. But now I have, even if this magazine gets relegated to just this, I have something I can get that manipulation in. I can get that practice in. You know, I can even do it with my eyes closed. There we go. Apparently I'm right-handed. Today I'm right-handed. Usually I'm left-handed. Weird. Weird how that works as soon as the camera starts rolling. Excuse me. So yeah, don't get rid of your old busted magazines. They still have a use. And I would argue that I like old busted magazines so I can get that dry fire practice. Your live fire doesn't do a whole lot of return for you. Your dry fire does all that manipulation. So anyways, I hope this helps someone out there. Have a good one. Bye.